Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. For today's video, we want to discuss about the negative effects of self-help that is not said. In Mind State, we're here to help you reach your full potential. Let's get right to it. Have you ever tried to improve something about yourself or your life? I want you to focus now on one particular thing that you may have tried to improve and think about the actual process that you went through in order to make it happen. The first thing I want you to do is write down all of the steps that were involved in achieving your goal. The next step is for me to help you figure out how many steps there were in total and how many were basic tasks, like getting started, versus complex tasks, like gathering information. If there were any difficult parts of this process, write them down as well. Now let's take a look at your answers together. How many steps did you take? Were any of them particularly hard or challenging? What kinds of things might have made these parts more difficult than others? What emotions did these difficult steps evoke in you? How do they make sense given what we know about human behavior? We know it can be hard to keep going when you're trying to improve yourself. But don't worry, we've got your back. Remember that the payoff will come in the end. And you have so much more than the satisfaction of knowing that you did it. You'll have a better version of yourself, which will make everything else in life easier and maybe even fun. You'll probably even wind up with some really great friends along the way. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The world of self-improvement can be a dangerous place. I know, you're probably thinking, but it's supposed to make me better. How could it possibly be bad? But just like anything else, there are good ways to go about it and bad ways. If you're feeling like you really succeeded and got where you wanted to go, that's great. For some people who haven't though, you may have been lured to the dark side of self-improvement. It's tiring, isn't it? I've been lured to the dark side too, as many of my clients, and maybe you have too. Every one of us has a little voice in our heads that tells us we're not good enough. And it's true. No matter how smart or talented or accomplished you are, that voice is there. It's an ancient belief, and it affects every single one of us. But here's the thing. You don't have to listen to it. You can hear it, acknowledge it, and then move on with your day. The next time that little voice pipes up with its nagging criticism, tell yourself, I'm doing fine, and keep going. If it keeps talking, repeat those words until they drown out the voice, or just ignore it altogether. It may take some practice, but eventually, you'll be able to tune out that nagging voice completely. You know what's hard? The idea that you're not enough. I mean, we all want to be better, stronger, faster, but the fact is that even when we do everything in our power to be the best version of ourselves, there will always be something more we could have done. Are you liking this video so far? Before we get back, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell to get notified of our new uploads. Now let's get right back to it. It's a painful belief to hold. It's also a false belief. But until we know it's false, we're in the dark about who we are and what's possible in our lives. So let's get real. No matter how good you are at something, there will always be people who are better than you at it, or who have done it longer than you have. And if those people aren't there yet, if they haven't mastered their craft yet, they may never show up in your life in any way other than as an example of who you could become someday. You don't need to compete with them or worry about being judged by them. They're just reminders of where you might end up if things keep going well for you. When we feel there's something wrong with us and we attempt to improve ourselves, we are in the dark. And it's not just because we can't see anything. We are in the dark emotionally because our efforts aren't coming from a positive place. We have all been there. You're having a hard time and you try to fix it by doing things like going to therapy or reading self-help books or taking some kind of class. And while those things can be helpful at times, they don't always help us get better because they come from a place of lack. They come from a place where we feel broken and flawed. So, what do we do instead? How do we get out of that dark place? The answer is simple. By working on ourselves from within our own power, not someone else's. And how do we do that? By focusing on what makes us great. When we think something's wrong with us, we look outside of ourselves for answers and solutions. We abandon our own inner wisdom, our inspired impulses, our genuine longings, and instead, we place all of our trust in the advice of others. This is a terrible mistake because it means that you're not taking responsibility for your own happiness, and who else but you can do that? Do you ever feel like you're constantly striving for something? You know, like you're always trying to be better and do more. But no matter how hard you work, it all just kind of feels like a dream. Like if you could just get there, then everything would be okay. But the truth is that when we think there's something wrong with us, we can experience disempowerment and lack of fulfillment. This can happen when we strive to reach a goal because we believe that reaching the goal will make us happy. But if we're always judging ourselves during the process of reaching that goal, then we never experience satisfaction in the here and now. When we create experiences that prove our suspicions about ourselves, it's because we're seeing things in a certain way, and that's actually how we want to see them. I want to tell you about a client of mine whom I'll call Leslie. When I first met Leslie, she was extremely unhappy in her job and frustrated with herself for being stuck. In other words, she felt there was something wrong with her. She had been a receptionist at an insurance company for almost 20 years. But it wasn't until she was promoted to assistant manager that she realized she didn't like being in charge of other people. She wanted to be free to do her own thing and not have to worry about how other people were doing theirs. Leslie knew that the job market was tough, and she wanted to make sure she did everything she could to get a new position by a certain date. She updated her resume and signed up for websites where jobs were posted, but all of this wasn't enough. Leslie realized that in order to find a job quickly and easily, she would have to take her search offline. In other words, she had to get out there and talk with other people about what was going on in their lives and what opportunities might be available for someone with her skills. When I heard Leslie had reached out to me, I was excited to help her get back on track. She felt overwhelmed by the amount of time she spent doing job searches and resume prep. She lost touch with her true desires, the present moment, and who she really was. So we stopped looking for a new job so that Leslie could take some time to reconnect with herself. As she did this, she discovered that she wanted at that time was to support her parents in the final stages of their lives. We all have days when we feel like our best just isn't good enough. You know what I'm talking about. The days when you look at your to-do lists and realize that you've only gotten one item checked off. Or the days when you're stressed about a project and think to yourself, I wish this were over. But there's a secret that I've learned from coaching clients like Leslie. Self-judgment will never, ever get you where you want to go. Ever. In fact, it will often cause you to do things that are counterintuitive to your goals. Take Leslie for example. She had been in love with training and development work since she was a kid. But then she took on a leadership role at her company and all of a sudden found herself spending more time managing people than doing the work she loved most. And so she began questioning whether or not this whole management thing was really for her after all. So we focused on shifting the way Leslie related to herself. In that process, she learned to listen to herself, respect herself, and trust herself. She also learned to be flexible about the way she looked for a job. She didn't try to force herself to follow only one formula. In short, Leslie learned to love herself, and this has allowed her to spend quality time with her parents. She's at peace and she's genuinely happy. She's following her passion in a new direction by writing about her life experiences. She's even thinking about writing a book, which she had never considered before. And because she's so much more present and aware, She recognized an opportunity to take on training and development work in her current job. So now she's doing that regularly, and she loves it. Leslie realized that she was doing all the right things already, and it was just a matter of slowing down and trusting her inner guidance. With a new understanding of her own self-worth and potential, Leslie recognized that she wanted to express herself in ways that were more satisfying than her job allowed. She decided that she could find fulfillment in many ways, including her job. Her best guide to fulfillment is herself. So let's take a look at this whole situation from another perspective. What if your suspicion that there's something wrong with you was actually right? What if your experience of things is just as valid as anyone else's? What if your story is the only story? And what if you were able to see yourself in such a way that you knew no one else could ever tell you what was true? What would that feel like? We all want to learn from people who have succeeded in the areas we want to succeed in. But it's important not to cling to another person's formula. It's natural for us to look at someone who has achieved success and think, I want that. But here's the thing. Every successful person has a different path and a different formula for how they got there. When you start looking at other people as role models instead of seeing them as examples of what you want to be like, you'll be able to see their strengths and weaknesses without attaching yourself to their story. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so we can keep making them. What do you think about these negative effects of self-help that is not said? Leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to comment down below what you would like to see next. See you next time!